Hey guys, this is Clark with AndroidandMe.com. Today we're going to take a look at the App Inventor for Android, which is in beta. It was just released by Google. It's been in beta for a couple months. Invites have been going out steadily. A big batch went out a few days ago, which is when I got mine, and it seems like a bunch of you on Twitter got yours. A lot of people are still waiting, but we thought we'd go ahead and just do a quick little walkthrough. We're going to show you how to make a Twitter app. Well, not really a Twitter app, but it's going to end up sending a tweet when you're done. I'm just going to show you what we're going to make before we get started. This is the app designer window. It's got all your components over here to the left and all the options and names to the right. Normally when you're doing this, you'll want to be running it on your Android phone. They have little tools here for setting up your phone and computer. And whenever you're doing this, you can have your phone tethered via USB and it'll actually just show up right on your phone and you can test it with your finger and all that. For the screen recording, I've gone ahead and set up a virtual device. With the virtual device, the App Inventor picks it up just like a normal phone. I just went ahead and put it on my screen so I could record it for you guys. The last piece of our puzzle here is called the blocks editor. This is where you actually do a lot of dragging and dropping and putting your pieces into place, and this is what makes it so simple to make everything. And now that you've seen it all, I'll go ahead and we're going to make a new one from scratch so you can just see me take it through all the way from the beginning. We'll go ahead and click up to My Projects, make a new one. We'll just call it Tweeter, since it does nothing but tweet. And the very first step is normally when you log in, you'll hit Launch Blocks Editor right here. I've already got it open, so I'm just going to come up here. It's already connecting with my device. It's communicating now. Normally right there you would hit Connect, and your physical device would connect, or in this case our virtual device will. As soon as it initializes, it'll come up on the screen here and we'll be ready to go. Let's just watch and see whenever it finishes. And here it comes up. So now what you see on the phone is exactly what you'd see over here in the editor. It's a little bit different because the editor has these really simplistic UI elements, and what you see on the device is, you know, what you'll see in real life when you're using it. To get started, we'll go ahead and click into screen one and we'll rename it, Tweeter. And immediately you see it update in the app designer and live on the device. The very first step is going to be just to drag in all the forms we need for the login. If you're going to send a tweet, you're going to need to have the user log in. So to get started, we'll just, over here, these are called components. I know I've already said that, but you're going to look through the components and you're going to find text box. And you're going to drag it in. And in here is in between, the viewer and the properties, you've got your components listed out. It shows everything that's live in your app now. We're going to go ahead and rename it. We're going to give them smart names just so we can keep up with what they are. This is going to be our username field, so go ahead and name it as such. To the far right, you'll find all the properties for this field we've just dropped in. We're going to go ahead and set a hint for text box 1 as username, so that way in app the person will know what they're supposed to do with the box. Right next to the username box, we're going to drop a password box. So come and find the password text box, drop it in. Do the same thing. We'll go ahead and rename it. Just something simple so we recognize it. And we'll go ahead and drop a hint on it so the user knows what to do with it. So now over here you see we've got username and password. We're going to also go ahead and put in a button so the user has a way to actually log in. Drop in a button. Again, let's rename it. We'll name it Login so we know what its action is. We can even change its text over here to Login, so again, the user knows what it's doing. And aside from the username and password, we need a way to actually show the user if they're logged in or logged out, because they're not going to know whenever they open the app. So we're going to go ahead and drop in a label. And for now, let's just call it, well, I guess we'll just leave it. We'll call it as label, because I think it's going to be the only one we need. You can put the text for label, we'll say not logged in, because the initial state, when the user enters the app, they won't be logged in. They're going to need to enter their username and password to actually get into the app, or to get into Twitter. And now, once you've got that in place, you can go ahead and open up the blocks editor, and we're going to do some of our first, functionality here. To get started, the very first thing you need to do, well, the very first action you need to monitor for is the user clicking login. The user themselves will click into username and will click into password and enter their details, but the first listener we need is going to be for that login button. So you switch over to My Blocks and you see everything in this list are the ones you've actually dropped in out here. They share your labels so you know what everything is, And make sure you use good labels, or these will just say button 1, button 2, button 3. You've got to be diligent with your labeling. But now once you're in here, you can go ahead and find what you need. Here's the login button, so we're going to see what pieces it offers us. As you work with the app designer out here, all these pieces update automatically to show you exactly what you're going to be needing. So we're going to go ahead and get this piece that says when login click, because that means, when a user clicks on the login button, and then we're going to tell it to do some things. We're going to need to tell it to actually go to Twitter and try to log in. So to do that, back in the designer window, you're going to switch down to social, and you'll see a Twitter thing right here. There's also a few other things. You can see the person's contacts, you can make calls, you can send text. But Twitter's built in, and it was a real nice and easy tool, so we figured it'd be nice to use for this demo. You're going to drag Twitter into the designer window, drop it, and Twitter is a non-visible component. Really all that did was it gave us a giant big block of functions to use out here. So now that that's in our app, we have this whole, it's not really an API, but it easily gives you access to lots of functions, checking your timeline, checking your followers, sending messages, and that's all just from dragging in that one Twitter component. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get the call Twitter login, drag it out here, and you just put it right underneath. And you'll see that there's a spot for username and password, which means to actually get the person logged in, you're going to have to send along a username and a password. If you were going to hard code it into the app, you could click and just insert some text and enter in username, drag that piece to the end, and that's the username that'll be sent to Twitter. But since we're trying to make a little dynamic app where the person can enter in their username and password, we'll go ahead and put that in the trash, and we're going to actually look for the text that was left in these fields. So we can come into username, we can scroll down and see, there it is, username.text. Drag that in, hook it to username. Now we're looking for the password. Same thing, come in, find password.text. So with those blocks right there, you tell it when the login is clicked, send the username text and the password text to Twitter, to try to log the person in. Another good thing about the editor is it has these nice hints here, and basically what I just said, it says logs into Twitter with the specified username and password. So as you go, it's really nice to, look at the little hints, and they kind of put you in the right direction. And you'll see if you leave a connector open that's needed for the function, it gives you a little warning saying, hey, this has an empty socket. So it helps you along. It makes sure you get everything in place. With this in place, when someone clicks login, the user will likely be logged in. Right now, there's not specifically a way to test it, because when they click it, and if they are logged in, they won't know, and if they're not logged in, they won't know. So we're going to go ahead and put it in action that changes this not logged in. How we're going to do that is under Twitter, you'll find another block called when Twitter is logged in, which is just a conditional check. It checks after the login attempt, and if the user has logged in, it'll let you have an action here in this little nested area. So with that, we're going to go ahead and find our label that we made earlier. We're going to find the label, and we're going to pick an action here. It says set label text to, so that's going to let us change the text that's in that little label. We're going to pick a text box, and we'll just pick logged in, because that will alert the user that their login was successful and that they're now authenticated and can start doing something. So let's go ahead and see if this part of the app works. The second these blocks are in place and it's saved, you can test it live out here. So we'll go ahead and click in. I'll punch in a username. I'll punch in a fake password. Well, it's real for now, but I'm going to change it the second this demo is over. But now we're going to click login and see what happens.